Hello and welcome back to part 4 of my 7-part Blu-ray update Odyssey for 2023-2022. It's like a year's worth of stuff that I haven't talked about or shown in a video and held up and gone, here I got this. So we're moving forward now with Radiance and Imprint and also Canadian International Pictures. We'll get to that in just a second. So let's just dive right in because there's quite a lot to get through in this stack, and as these updates continue and begin to build, the stacks are getting bigger. So first up we have a very new release. This just came out and it's from Radiance. Now Radiance, I've seen a lot of what their releases are. If I had an unlimited bank account, I'd get all of them, and I would love to dive into a lot of that stuff blind, but you gotta pick and choose what you spend your money on. And this one is a film I've wanted to see for quite a while. I'm a big fan of Jennifer Connelly. I don't think she has a big role in this. I also love Virginia Madsen, and Don Johnson is an actor who I quite like, and I'd like to see more of him in kind of earlier years. This is a film from 1990, I want to say, yep. And it's directed by Dennis Hopper, and it's The Hotspot. So, I first became aware of this film many years ago for a very specific reason that many teenage boys probably would know. But I in later years, kind of it circled back into my sphere of consciousness, and I thought, actually sounds pretty good. Neo-noir kind of, and I kind of like the genre. It's kind of, a bit erotic, a bit kind of lovers and entanglements and crime, and I like the actors involved. Dennis Hopper's directing, so that's pretty good. Extras-wise, there's a 2K restoration first and foremost. There's interviews with Virginia Madsen and William Sadler, and I think this had a Kino release, and so it ports over most of those extras. But yeah, I really like the reversible artwork and like the booklet and stuff. It just looks like a really good release to me, and it's a film I've wanted to see for a number of years now, since I kind of looked at it with more of a, would this be a good film to watch, mindset. But yeah, The Hotspot. Let me know if you've seen it, as with any of these releases, and what you think. And I think that was like spine number. Do they even number these? They do. This is 13 of, I don't know how many they've released to date. And one other thing I should mention, I suppose, is that they have Obi strips. Just makes me think of Obi-Wan Kenobi whenever I see it, because it, what's an Obi strip? But it's this kind of strip here that has the title of the movie and kind of the synopsis and everything. You can take this off and you get the fuller artwork, which I have done with spine number 12. This one came out way earlier than The Hotspot. Either way, it's Big Time Gambling Boss. So Japanese cinema, you kind of got me on this one. I didn't grab it immediately, but I read a review by Michelle Kisner, which I really like her reviews and stuff, but she really sold me just by mentioning the fact that there's also stars, not in the lead role, I don't think, because this actor is not who I'm about to say. If we get a closer look there. So I believe this might be Koji Tsuruta, but this film also stars Tomisaburo Wakayama, who plays the lead in the Lone Wolf and Cub series. Also the brother of Shintaro Katsu, who plays Zatoichi. So I really like him in the Lone Wolf and Cub movies. I'd like to see him in something else. Yakuza movie, which I've had middling results in terms of enjoyment of Yakuza movies, but I was sold by Michelle's review, and I don't have the Obi strip to read out the extras. I've kind of put it in. I love the alternate artwork on the inside. Actually, it's really cool. The reversible sleeve. I'll show you that in just a second. Love that. That's really cool. Here's the Obi strip, and I think it just has a couple of new essays, a visual essay, and nothing like huge. A booklet, of course, and Radiance really seems to be doing great stuff with films that would never get this treatment otherwise, and I'm all for that. So it's not a company I'll be buying everything from, but certainly select ones I'll definitely look into. Now this title I also ordered from Radiance, but it's not a Radiance branded release. It comes from Canadian International Pictures. So I think the Radiance have kind of partnered with a few different labels internationally. And this one is a release I'm keen to get into. I've read some mixed things about the transfer, which worries me. But either way, it's one of my favorite documentaries, Buster Keaton Rides Again. This is present on, I believe, the 3rd volume of feature films that Eureka released in the Massive Cinema Collection, the Buster Keaton 3 films set. There's 3 of them all together, and the 3rd one, I believe, is where they included this documentary along with the film that Buster Keaton was making towards the end of his career and life, which this documentary, Buster Keaton Rides Again, was shot on the set of. So there's a film called The Railrodder that he did for the Canadian Tourist Board, and it's basically Buster Keaton on this little kind of rail cart going around, you know, the train tracks of Canada, and with kind of, you know, a throwback to the slapstick kind of silent humor that he pioneered and was a huge part of in the, you know, the late 1910s, early 20s, and these amazing comedy films. But Buster Keaton Rides Again is like 3 times as long as The Railrodder and is a fascinating look at this aging legend as he makes one of his final films, and it's just an incredible documentary. So this has a number of extras on it, which aren't on the Eureka release, because this is not like a featured part of the Eureka MOC release. It's like there's 3 main films, and this is on there as an extra, which is great. But I'd be intrigued to check the transfers of both and see if they're fairly identical or not. I might do that and come back with kind of a comparison, I don't know, for the one person in the world who might care about that thing, that one person being me. But this it says new 2K transfers from the 35mm into positives, which got me really excited. And then I read a review that said that there was a lot of DNR, which was really upsetting. So I'll be looking forward to checking that one out and telling for myself, I suppose. This has another 50-minute documentary called Helicopter Canada with alternate aspect ratio presentations, including a Smilebox presentation. Audio commentary with Gerald Potterton, who's the director of The Railrodder, and there's also commentary on that film and Buster Keaton Rides Again with David D. Volpe. And then there's 6 short films I believe were also directed by Gerald Potterton, so it's kind of like a celebration of his work as well. And then there's a booklet. I really like the inside artwork there and the image of Buster on the booklet there. Very cool. So I will come back with my thoughts on the transfer of this in due course. Now, another release I have from Canada International Pictures, which was not really on my radar at all, but I saw that this release was coming out, and this slipcover is a dust magnet, and it really bugs me, but it's an amazing slipcover for an incredible film. If only I had all the time in the world, this would get a dedicated review as well. This is, I believe it was Vinegar Syndrome that I got this from, and I guess they partner with, I think even Radiance releases Vinegar Syndrome stuff. I'm not too caught up on all those different companies, but this is Canada International Pictures release that was ordered from Vinegar Syndrome by myself, sent to a friend of mine in America, who then sent it to me, and the postage cost more than the Blu-ray itself. I spent about £60 on this, and if I knew that, I would have never gone into this deal. But I'm very happy with the final result, and this is Hitman Hart, Wrestling with Shadows, one of the all-time great wrestling movies. And this is a gorgeous slipcover there. You got Brett there on the front, obviously the shadow of Vince. The back artwork is gorgeous as well. And this is like the slipcover feels super deluxe. There's embossing on the spine, there's embossing on the title. It's an absolutely gorgeous release. But what really sold this for me, it's a 30 or 25 year anniversary edition. Get the same artwork on the inside. I love the pink there, and even the use of the Futura font. This is just like wrestling history in a box. I have this film on DVD actually signed by Brett himself, but to get the Blu-ray was really interesting. You also get the reversible sleeve on the inside if you want to use the actual original like DVD poster there. has a nice booklet with a really good interview with the producer of the documentary, which I thought was fascinating. But the extras on this, I haven't gone into all of them yet, but really drew me to the release in general. So there's an audio commentary featuring Bret Hart and Uncle Dave Meltzer, and that's going to be interesting to listen to. There is a new interview of Bret Hart conducted in 2022 about the movie, 23 minutes long. A new interview with the director Paul J from 2022, also 23 minutes in length. Screwjob specific commentary from 2002 with Bret Hart. An archival interview with Bret Hart from 2008, an archival interview with the director Paul J, also from 2008. The Life and Death of Owen Hart, the 1999 documentary in its entirety, 47 minutes, with an introduction by the co-director Paul J, and then the booklet with the interview with producer Sally Blake. Loaded with special features, and this is actually a really interesting transfer, because this is a Blu-ray of a film that was shot on video, transferred and restored from the original Betacam master. I don't think I've ever read that sentence on a Blu-ray before. I doubt I ever will again. But I watched the whole thing, and it looks great. Like, it's standard definition video, but it looks it looks as good as you could possibly ever imagine it looking, basically. And at first I thought, oh no, maybe that they would use this upscaling, but no, it just looks as it probably did in the cinema. Like, and the film itself is just, I don't revisit it often, but it's just amazing that, and I haven't really talked about the film, but like, it follows Bret Hart during his final year in WWF, and one of the most infamous incidents in wrestling history, the Montreal Screwjob. The camera crew was there backstage while this happened and gets this incredible footage. And it's, I think it's in Bret's book where, like, it was one of the worst nights of his life, and the director Paul J was just like so excited. You won't believe what we got, like, for him as a director, it's amazing stuff. But for Bret, it's like his professional life was destroyed, and his intelligence was insulted, his honor was brought into question. Like, it's, anyway, it's a phenomenal film. And I'm so glad to get a really fantastic, I never thought this would get a Blu-ray release, let alone one with all these great extras. So I'm really over the moon with this one. Now, let's get into the imprint stuff. I have a few things here in various order. I guess the more newer things are at the bottom, so that's good. This one is spine number 195, not that I collect all of them. It is Fear is the Key. And I'm sure you're aware by now that Imprint is, of course, the Australian label. I have shown some of their releases before last year. I love what these guys do. And this one is a British film that I believe takes place in America. I haven't watched it yet. Following the death of his family in an airplane crash, underwater salvage expert John Talbot hatches an elaborate scheme to bring those responsible to justice. I read a much bigger synopsis of the plot that really drew me in, and there's a Kim Newman audio commentary there with author Sean Hogan. This is a 2022 release, so the extras were made last year. Interviews with cast and crew, and an interview with the associate producer. This is 1970s, it seems like a gritty kind of like drama that I just, kind of the hook of it just really drew me in. And from the cover, it looks like it kind of escalates into something maybe exciting, but I also wouldn't put it past a 1970s film poster to depict things that don't maybe happen in the movie, but we'll see what happens. This is kind of a meaty set. I don't know too much about it, or what the alternate cut on this release really offers, but it'll be intriguing to find out. This comes, fairly recently after the death of James Caan, who's an amazing actor, and so maybe the timing felt right for me on this one. But two actors I love, James Caan, Robert Duvall, in a Sam Peckinpah film, The Killer Elite. And this is one of Imprint's, like, gorgeous box set releases. I love what they do with these things. And, I might do a closer look at this at some point. But this has audio commentaries, new featurettes. It's just loaded with stuff. Maybe take a look at the back there. And then there's a second disc with an alternate theatrical cut, which seems a bit vague. But it's apparently about these two guys, these like elite mercenaries. And I love the actors. I love James Caan, love Robert Duvall especially. 1970s again. I just feel like the 70s is an era I'm still woefully inexperienced with. So this one was quite appealing. The Killer Elite. Again, if you've seen it, let me know. Now on the two films I have seen and love. And oh, that was, for housekeeping's sake, this is Spy Number 192. This one I got on eBay for like a really good price, because these aren't cheap releases by any stretch. This is Spy Number 65, one of my favorite films from the 90s, I think, and that's a fairly long list, but as good as it gets. What a great film. I mean, I was a kid when this came out and I loved it. Like, 11, 12. It's a fairly, mature film in some respects, but, I this is going to sound really weird. I grew up with a lot of homophobia around me, to the point where, people, gay, it was such a baked in part of my childhood that it almost felt normal. And this, I really credit this film, now that I think about it, just in this moment that I thought about it. I feel like this film really opened my eyes to, no, gay people are just the same as the rest of us, and go through, a lot more hardships than we do, just based on the fact of who they love. And that's just bullshit, and, Jack Nicholson in this film, I don't think maybe it is a bit of an overstatement to say he's a raging homophobe, but a homophobe nevertheless. And, I think that Greg Kinnear's performance in this, it's been a long time since I watched this from start to finish, but it resonates with me so much. Like, it's such a powerful performance, and Jack Nicholson is fantastic in the film. It's, he plays this guy with OCD, and he's a writer, and Helen Hunt is great, and I love her in this film. The line that always sticks in my head is when she's writing the letter, and she's just like, conscience. She's trying to figure out the spelling of conscience and all the things that this guy does for her, and she doesn't really want it, but she's so overwhelmed at the same time. And yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this out again. I've never seen it in high definition, so that'd be something to check out. There's an audio commentary with the director James L. Brooks, Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt, and Greg Kinnear. I cannot wait to listen to that. And there's a visual essay that was made when this was released in 2021, and an isolated score track, which is one of those kind of random special features that seems to be a holdover from the DVD days. You don't see it too often, but I think it's kind of cool. Anyway, as good as it gets. Phenomenal film. I think it's, Nicholson's character is a complex one. He isn't really a good guy, but you still root for him, and you root for him to do better. Well, it goes to the line that he says in the film, "You make me want to be a better man." So, as good as it gets. Love that film. Now, I've done a video on this one, but I've not shown it in an update, so just for, again, housekeeping purposes, this is Spy Number 158. One of my all-time favorite movies, Akira Kurosawa's Desu Uzala. I think this is out of print now in terms of with the slipcase and everything, but you can get it in the standard edition from Imprint. An epic, I want to do a full review of this, and really, because the actors in this were fantastic. I loved the commentary, I loved all the featurettes. There's some great stuff that they produced specifically for this release, and I just think that the film is still undervalued, underappreciated, underseen, underrated. Under everything. I think it's a phenomenal movie. The true story about this Russian surveyor who goes out into the wilderness with his team and meets this strange character called Desu Uzala, who becomes a guide for them on their journeys and a great friend. And it's a film about friendship and the wilderness. And it was shot in Russia. Kurosawa had a very troubled time after the 60s. In many ways, and this was one of those films that was emblematic of that point in time in his life, and some of the struggles and stuff. And it's just Kurosawa just operates on a different level than everyone else, I think. And his color movies are also underrated and underseen and underappreciated, I feel like, and this is one of them. I mean, Ran gets attention, Kagemusha gets attention. But I still think films like Madadayo are fantastic. I really like, Rhapsody in August. Dreams is a masterpiece, I think. Dodes'ka Den is a film that maybe deserves a second look. It's a very strange but interesting film. But I think that Desu Uzala is one of his best movies. And to get it on Blu-ray was... I've talked about it in a previous video, but it was just like, thank you. Thank you, Blu-ray gods. Now we have two newer releases. Spy Number 226 here. This is a 2020 movie called Leap. And I do like sports dramas, and there's something about the spirit of competition in sport that I really get wrapped up in. So I'm intrigued to see if this film captures that in a way. And it's based on a true story, I think, about the women's national volleyball team of China, and in the 1980s. This is a 1080p high definition presentation from a 4K scan. I don't know whether this would be shot on film in 2020. I guess the proof be in the pudding when I watch the movie and I can see film grain. Otherwise, it would just be a 4K digital master, right? Anyway, there's a Tony Raines featurette, which is always great. He talks about the film. And there's a bunch of featurettes and a teaser trailer. It just jumped at me. No joke intended, with a film called Leap. Anyway, so that's that. The last one here is one I'm really excited about. This one's a big one for me. I'm really just chomping at the bit. Check, this is spy number 225. And I think actually the card with the special features is elsewhere. Give me 1 second. I do like these cards that Imprint put on the back of their box sets, so you kind of slot it in and it's kind of nice. So this is spy number 225, and this is a true story that's been adapted into a major motion picture 3 times by my count, at least 3 major instances. The first one was done in the 30s with Charles Lawton and Clark Gable. And then it was done again in the 50s or the 60s with Marlon Brando. It must be the 60s, I think, with Marlon Brando. And then they did it again in the 1980s with Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins. It is The Bounty. So the first 2 versions of that story, the adaptations of that real-life story, were called Mutiny on the Bounty, which is about a real-life mutiny that took place on the ship called the Bounty. And it was an expedition to Tahiti, from memory. I've seen the 30s version. I love that film. Charles Lawton's performance as Captain Bligh, who's a ruthless bastard, and he's brilliant at doing it, performing it and embodying it, and you really just love to hate that character. And you kind of respect him all the same by the end. It's a very great character. So to see Anthony Hopkins playing that is going to be, I can't wait. This might disappoint me because my expectations are really high, but you got Mel Gibson, you got Daniel Day-Lewis, and fun fact, because I'm going to watch this fairly soon and probably give you a review and stuff, and unboxing maybe, but this will be the second Daniel Day-Lewis performance I'll ever see. And the first one was Phantom Thread, his final film. So I'm looking forward to seeing Daniel Day-Lewis do something else than play, what's his name? I forget his name now. It's a really good movie character name in Phantom Thread, but I love him in that movie. Nice to see him play someone else. He's like lauded as one of the great actors of all time, and I've seen one of his performances properly. So anyway, The Bounty. This is like, you got like a nice booklet. You get 2 discs, and one is the movie itself, of course, The Bounty. And then you get the special features. The whole of the disc dedicated to not even the sole amount of special features, but just like more special features. So we'll get into that in just a second. I'll probably do an unboxing and kind of go through everything, but just to give you a quick overview. With the main movie disc, we have a 1080p high definition presentation of a 4K scan from the original negative. I'd like to hope that is going to look really good. There's an audio commentary with the director and a producer and production designer, an audio commentary by a historical consultant, Stephen Walters, making of documentary from 1984, a visual essay from 2004, and a theatrical trailer, and that's just on the first disc. And then on the back of the second bonus disc, you get all these other special features. So they really loaded this one to the gills. And this one, it is really interesting to me because it's not just like, okay, here's some featurettes. First, you get a 1981 documentary about the construction of the Bounty replica ship and the early development of the movie. Then you have a 1984 documentary charting the voyage from New Zealand to Tahiti to deliver the Bounty replica ship for shooting the film. Then there is a 2023 interview with the director. I love it when they get a new interview with the director. That's always great. There is a featurette on adapting Mutiny on the Bounty. There is a featurette on the score of the movie. I believe was done by Vangelis, I think. Then there's an interview with the dubbing mixers of the movie from 2023. There's an interview with the second unit cameraman done in 2023. There was a production slideshow. And then on top of all of that, you get Making Waves, a feature-length documentary with members of the film crew made in 2023 specifically for this release. Imprint went absolutely mental with this. So yeah, this is the booklet, like, and that's the ship that they made. The fact that they built like a proper replica ship, that really intrigues me, you know. And so I'm hoping for some big budget, good old classic Hollywood style stuff. Yeah, I'm super excited about this film. I hope it delivers, and even if it doesn't, the fact that we got all these amazing extras on it is like super exciting. So this just looks to be an amazing release. The Bounty, there you go. And that's my update. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you got any of the Blu-rays in this update or whatever else. I'd love to engage in comments and chat with people about movies. And I should say, while I'm at it, actually, I've now opened an Instagram account for RazorwireReviews, the channel, so you can follow me on there. I kind of made my RazorWire Ryan one private and just a family one, family and friends. So go follow me on there if you want to see more like day-to-day Blu-ray stuff and movie stuff. And that's about it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.